Hi, I'm Josh. This is Josh is Making Music, and I wanted to talk to you about this device that I've got here in front of me. So I've had the Teenage Engineering OP-1 for a little over a month, and I feel that's long enough for me to get out of that honeymoon phase that you get when you have a new piece of gear, and start to really get a grasp on what I like and dislike about it. Before I begin, I want to make it clear that this isn't a review, and we should keep in mind that even getting one of these used, it'll still run you about $1,000. So if you're interested in the OP-1 and you're listening to what I say, just please keep in mind that it is like a really expensive device and not something that I'm recommending you go out and buy. So let's just get into my feelings on this after a month. And like I said, not going to be like an all-inclusive review or tutorial. We're just going to talk about some things that are sticking in my mind. So feeling number one, the build is really nice. The buttons are nice and clicky. The chassis is made of metal. The knobs are kind of plasticky, sort of a shame. Oops. But overall, good. This keyboard isn't velocity sensitive. I don't really miss it all that much. The travel on the keys isn't enough for me to feel like I could really communicate velocity well. So I haven't personally missed it, but it might be something to keep in mind if you were really hoping that there would be like a velocity sensitivity on these keys. Feeling number two. The process of sculpting sounds on here is really weird. So if I go into the synth screen by pressing this little like wave button, boom. Right now I have a sample loaded up, but if I go through, here I've got some of our synthesis engines. The OP-1 doesn't give you synth engines the way that you're used to, where it's just, you have your oscillators and you choose the wave shapes and then the octaves you want the oscillators in. Instead, you've got these different kind of engines with weird UIs. It keeps it all very playful. Here we have the cluster engine, and you can see it reacting as I hit these keys. The point is, it's weird. And it does help it feel very playful. Teenage Engineering have on their website a guide to what all of the knobs do and the different engines. And just so we can look at some others, here's the digital engine. Here is DNA. This one's really weird. Ooh, scary. Here's Dr. Wave. Fun. While you can get an explanation for what they do on Teenage Engineering's website, I've had a lot more fulfillment from just choosing an engine. Let's grab cluster, or actually, let's grab DNA, because it is weird, and just seeing what happens when I turn the knobs. That is wild. Similarly, the effects are kind of weird. So you can hear I've got this sound. And if I tap 3, we'll go to our effects. Some of them make a lot of sense. This one is a filter. But then you've got some strange ones, like the fan favorite CWO or cow. So here's the sound with that off. And with it on. And I'll turn it up a little bit more so you can get more of the cowness of it. Ooh, very weird. Like I said, this does motivate you to play around, but it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes when you have sort of like the mental image of the sound that you want to create, but because the OP-1 approaches things in such a strange way, you can't ever quite get to it. And then there's some limitations, like only being able to have one effect at a time on a sound. It's a little bit limiting and seems kind of at odds with the playful feeling that you're otherwise given. But at the same time, it is the only synthesizer I own that has the cow. Something to keep in mind? Who knows? Feeling number 3. I really like using this as a sampler for melodic sounds. So, for example here, I've got a melodica. I didn't mean for that pun to happen, but that was the sample I recorded, but now, I can just play it on the keys. I had made the attack a little bit softer, so. But my point is, it's like pretty quick and easy. I just sampled that in using the built-in microphone. To show you how easy this is, I could just hit Shift and the microphone, and now we're using the microphone, and I could sample myself. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna go La. La, 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 la. Awesome. Feeling number 4. The sequencers are serviceable, but not really anything special to me. Although I do think that's okay, and I'll explain that a little bit more later on. But if you think of a device like the Electron Digitone or the Synthstrom Deluge, which are all based around a sequencer, this is a little bit different. On here you have this like virtual 4-track tape recorder, and you record takes of your audio onto there. So it's not like you're just punching stuff in. You have to, you can sequence things, but you have to play it in and record it. The sequencers here, like with the effects, some of them are a little bit strange. I do get a kick out of how the sketch sequencer says Marx was right. I'd always wondered. Or if I go to this one, Tombola, oh, I love this one. It is very strange. I hit these notes, and these little balls fall for the notes. And when they hit, it'll play that note. Very fun and cool and weird. But the sequencer that I've been using the most is the Endless sequencer, which is really easy to use. You hit Shift, and then I play a sequence. So if I wanted to do like just a simple arpeggio, and when I hit this C, it'll play it back at the pitch that I sequence it in. Or if I hit like the B flat, it'll play it down a whole step. Versus. And if I turn these knobs, I can change things like the speed. I can have it be playing, or I could just have it hold. And then you can record that into the digital tape recorder that I mentioned. And before we talk about this whole like tape interface, I want to mention feeling number 5. This would not be a great device to use as the brains of a DAW-less studio. So over here on the side, you've got a USB out, and then you also have an audio out jack that I'm using to record, audio, of course, that can send a sync signal for like pocket operators or Volcas. And I think that the Sonicware Live-In XFM and 8-bit warps might be able to accept that as well as I think the Chord Prologue. Anyway, I'm getting kind of caught up in the overly small details. My point is, it doesn't have a lot of connectivity options compared to something like in the same price range, the Digitone or Deluge, which both have MIDI out, and you can control and sequence like a bunch of different gear from there. Or I believe Novation's circuit groove boxes also have MIDI out, and you could use them as the brains of a DAW-less studio, more so than you could easily do with the OP-1. Of course, I think that's kind of the point. Teenage Engineering don't really want you using other devices, but it is a little bit frustrating that they didn't plan ahead for the possibility that someone might. Before I open up about my 6th and final feeling on the OP-1, I do want to thank you for sticking around until this point. If you're enjoying the video, remember to leave a like if you haven't already, and if you're new around here, please consider hitting subscribe. But anyway, thank you so much, and my final feeling about the OP-1 is that the virtual tape machine that I mentioned earlier is a really cool tool for performance. So like I said before, you record your audio into the OP-1, and it's actually creating like AIFF audio files inside of it that it's then playing back, and they're linked to one of these 4 tracks. And you can record like more than one thing onto one track, and it'll just overdub it. But what's neat about this is what you can do while it's playing. So I'm going to hit play. I have some stuff here in the tape. It's a little bit of a work in progress, so sorry if it sounds a bit rough. And we're going to let it play. Now, you can do things like looping parts of the tape, which is cool, but I feel like is not really that surprising. On the other hand, if I turn this white knob, I can change the speed of the tape. That's fun. Or I can make it go really fast. This isn't really how I intended for you to experience the song, though. Other fun things I can do with these 3 buttons here, I've got a kind of like stutter effect. This one reverses it. And then my personal favorite, the tape stop. Major shortcoming of this tape workflow, however, is there's no undo function. So you might see these buttons over here. I can, if I want, lift a part of the tape, which is kind of like storing it in the clipboard, you know, like when you copy and paste on your computer. And if you're planning on overdubbing your audio, you want to make sure to do that, because if you don't and you make a mistake while overdubbing, both takes are kind of just ruined. And I've had that happen. It's heartbreaking, and loss is troubling. I wish there was an undo function. Teenage engineering, make it happen. In summation, I like the OP-1 a lot. I don't regret getting it, but I don't really see it replacing the Deluge or Digitone either in my heart or in my studio anytime soon. There's a fun immediacy and weirdness to using it, which I think helps explain why it's used by so many artists like Childish Gambino, Churches, and Junior Jr., who were formerly known as Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr. It lacks the sequencing power of other groove boxes, both in the same price bracket and honestly less expensive than it as well. But I don't think it's really trying to compete with them. It's kind of trying to do its own thing. And I think that for its own weird little thing, it's good at what it does. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for sticking around. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. It's good to see you again. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, both to help support the channel and so that you'll be able to be notified next time I upload. And, if you liked the video, please leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Anyway, thanks again, and bye.